Hey, awesome students! Today we are going to learn how to do some light and color adjustments using the Apple Photos program, formerly called iPhoto. So go ahead, open the program up. You can find it in your Applications folder, but mine's right here. And the first thing you want to do when you open it up is add some new photos to your library so you can edit them. So do this by going to File, Import, and then you can browse your computer, select some photos. How about I pick these choir concert photos that I already have open here. Review for import. Okay, so it looks like I've got 6 new photos. I'm going to import all of them. There we go. Success. So another thing you might want to do once you've put a lot of photos into your library is organize them by creating albums. And you do this by selecting the photos you want to put into your album and then clicking on this little plus sign at the top bar. Click on Album, give it a name, Choir Concert. Okay, and you can see over here on the right side, I've got a new album that says Choir Concert next to all of my other albums. Okay, so let's edit some photos now. I want to edit this bird photo here, so you can double click on a photo to open it up, and then click the Edit button in the top right hand corner to get to the editing screen. It's very dark. Now we're going to use over here, you can see the adjustments options. So we're going to click Adjust. We'll come back to some of those other options later. Okay, so when you open up this option, you might not see all of the different tools that I see over here. So in case you don't see definition or noise reduction, click the Add button and make sure all of these different editing tools have been checked. Okay. All right, and you can also see there's a drop-down arrow next to some of these that expand the options so you can change the finer details. All right, so first thing I want you to see before we edit is the histogram in the top corner. A histogram is a graph that represents all of the pixels in your image. On the left side, these are the darkest pixels in the image, and the right side is the lightest pixels in your image. And you can see that because the graph has a lot of color to the left here, you can tell that our image is on the dark side. If I grab this master light slider and push the image lighter, there you go, you can see the pixels are shifting towards the right. And that's kind of how your histogram lets you visualize where the light and dark pixels are in your image. You want to aim to try to get them nicely balanced in the middle. Okay, so first let's look at some of these different little light adjustments. It's not really an awesome idea to use this master slider at the top. You can become a lot more precise if you use the more specific sliders below. Exposure is the first one we see here. That's the overall amount of light in the photo, and when I drag this one, it should shift all of the pixels, making them brighter or darker if we go the other way. The next one is highlights, and that one targets only the lightest pixels in my image. Actually, I don't have very many light pixels in this image, but it's trying. It's only changing the lightest pixels in my image. The next one is the shadow slider. This adjusts the darkest pixels in my image, making them brighter or darker. The next tool is the brightness slider, and that one adjusts the amount of light in the midtones of the photo, so the pixels that are in the middle. It's kind of similar to exposure, isn't it? So the next one here is the contrast slider, and this one's going to adjust the difference between the darkest and the lightest tones in the photo. So if I increase contrast, it makes the dark tones darker and the light tones lighter, and if I decrease contrast, it brings everything closer together. The next one is the black point slider, and this one is going to only adjust the tones in the photo that are pure black, so I can make the blacks much blacker, or I can lighten them. Alright, so those are the different light sliders, and your goal when trying to fix the photo is pick out the problems and try to fix them. So I can tell that this photo is looking really dark, and I'll adjust some of these, maybe brightness and exposure, to see if I can, yeah, it looks pretty good, fix that problem. Okay, that looks pretty good, and I might make it a little bit brighter than I really want it to be, and then come in with the contrast slider a moment later, and that will increase the darker areas of my photo. Let's see if I want to adjust this. Maybe a little bit. Do I want to adjust this? Maybe take that down a little bit. Okay, that works for me. All right, let's take a look at the color sliders. So once again, maybe don't use this master slider. Try to use the finer details below: saturation, color, contrast, and cast. Saturation is the intensity, the vibrancy of the colors in the image, so when you drag it up, you're going to see all of the colors become more vibrant, and then if you go the opposite direction, you'll see the colors becoming faded. The next one is color contrast, which is different than regular contrast. This one's going to be the difference between color tones in the photo, which is sometimes kind of hard to see. It might change the shade of blue or the shade of green, the lightness or darkness. You can see the beak is kind of changing the intensity of the color. The last one is the color cast, which is the same as the color temperature. If you increase, it will make your photo warmer or more reddish, and if you decrease, it will make your photo cooler or more bluish in tone. Okay, so let's see. Let's adjust the color. I think that it looks like it could be a little bit more vibrant and bright, and it also looks a little bit cool to me, so we might increase the warmth a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with that. So there we have it. Light and color adjustments using iPhoto. We are going to come back to all these other options later, but you can experiment with them if you want. I'm going to click revert to original so you can see what my original photo looked like. And I'm going to do one more editing demonstration for you before this photo ends. Alright, so let's take a look at a really challenging photo that I've got saved for us here. Here it is. This terrible photo that I took in London last year. This photo is really, really dark to the point where I can't even see the detail in the church windows. It's also a little blurry. I don't know if I'll be able to fix that problem here though. Let's go to the adjustment panel and see what we can do. Maybe I can start by increasing the exposure a little bit. I'm losing the detail in the sky, but I think that's okay in this case because I would rather have the detail in the church. Maybe this one will do more of what I want. Okay. So for my church, I think I'm going to push the brightness up really high, and then let's see, come in with the contrast, which will add some darkness back to the photo. I think if I use the shadows tool here, I can, get some more detail back in the windows of the church. That looks pretty good. Yeah, actually, let's take it up quite high, and then I'll use the black point slider to add some darkness back in. Okay, maybe a little bit more contrast. For the lighting, I'm okay with that. For now, let's look at the color. First thing I want to fix is the cast because this looks very bluish to me. The photo's pretty cool, so let's make it warmer. Yeah, quite a bit warmer. Okay, and then maybe saturate a little bit more. Careful though. I think that that's as good as this photo is going to get, unless maybe we try some of these other options that we'll come to later on. All right, so yeah, I'll go with that. So here's my original photo, and here's the update. And if I look at my new histogram, it's a lot more balanced than the other one with, the majority of the pixels in the center of the graph, which is what I want to see. But you can see that we do have a little spike here at the edge, the white side of the graph, and a little spike at the back side of the graph. And those are what we would call clipped highlights or clipped shadows. It means that there are some pure white pixels and pure black pixels in the photo where there's no detail there. So I think this sky up here is probably our clipped white pixels. We've got some really dark black down here. Those are probably the clipped shadows, but I prefer this look to the look of the original photo, so in this case, we'll say that's okay. All right, good luck, guys. Open up some terrible photos and see if you can make them better. Bye.